Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring a career that's just, well, immense, so influential that the New York Times said he secured a place in the pantheon of American pop culture.
That's quite the endorsement.
It really is. We're talking about someone whose writing sort of shaped modern comedy, but often from behind the scenes, elevating these huge comedy legends.
Precisely. We are talking about Alan Zweibel. And our mission today is really to unpack this incredible 50-year creative journey. I mean, you look at his resume, it's almost like several different careers rolled into one.
Yeah.
Writer, producer, director, actor, comedian.
Yeah, and the awards kind of back that up, don't they? We're talking 5 Emmys.
2 Writers Guild Awards.
A Tony Award.
And a Thurber Prize for American Humor, which is a big one for writers.
Absolutely. So this isn't just someone who, stayed relevant. He genuinely mastered pretty much every platform out there. Sketch comedy, novels, Broadway.
And what's really crucial for you, the listener, to grasp is that Zweibel's genius wasn't just about being funny. It was about innovating structure. He didn't just write jokes for these legends. He kind of designed the vehicles, the characters, the show formats, the whole framework that let them become icons. He was fundamentally an architect.
An architect of comedy. I like that. So yeah, we're tracing this really interesting path. Started at the very bottom, writing jokes for, what was it, $7 each?
$7 a joke, yeah.
All the way to Broadway wins and co-creating these TV shows that just changed the game.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does it start?
Let's unpack this. We should probably begin with the hustle, right? The early years.
Right. Let's set the scene. Alan Zweibel, born in Brooklyn, New York City, May 20, 1950. So he's 75, based on our source info. Grew up with that classic New York comedy background, moving from Brooklyn out to the Long Island suburbs.
Wantagh and Woodmere, specifically.
Jewish background. Graduated high school, George W. Hewlett High in 68, then University of Buffalo in 72.
And here's that detail I always find interesting. The sources say he was actually a jock in high school.
Right. It sort of clashes with the image of the solitary comedy writer hunched over at a typewriter.
Totally. But maybe it speaks to, I don't know, a certain discipline or drive.
Could be. You see that transition sometimes. But the real career launchpad, the foundational part, happens right after college, 1972. Ooh. And this is where you see that incredible discipline really kick in. He started writing jokes for stand-up comedians.
And this was not glamorous work at all. That $7 a joke figure is the key detail here.
$7. Think about that. The sheer volume you'd need to write just to, pay rent.
It's insane. You're basically running a joke factory. Constant demand for novelty, constant rejection.
Oh, absolutely. This is pre-internet, remember. You're typing things out, delivering them physically, maybe. It's a relentless grind. You couldn't just have one viral hit. You needed structure, consistency, day in, day out.
But here's where that grind pays off. Because he was churning out so much material.
He built this massive portfolio.
Exactly. Over 1,100 jokes. Compiled. Ready to go.
And that number, 1,100, it's not just trivia. It's proof of work, proof of professionalism.
Right. It showed he wasn't just, occasionally funny. He was a machine.
And that volume is what opened the door. 1975,
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to break into TV. There's this new experimental late-night show starting up Saturday night.
Lorne Michaels is putting it together.
Right. And Zweibel doesn't just walk in and, do a killer 5 minutes. He apparently dumps this huge binder over 1,000 pages of jokes on Lorne's desk.
Here's the proof.
Exactly. Proof that he could handle the pressure cooker of live weekly television, that he was reliable, inexhaustible.
Lorne Michaels saw that. He recognized that work ethic was exactly what SNL needed for that chaotic scramble every week.
And boom, that's the moment. Alan Zweibel becomes one of the original writers for Saturday Night Live.
Okay, so let's unpack that period. 5 incredibly influential years, 1975 to 1980.
Yeah, this is where he really transforms. From the guy writing $7 jokes to, one of the foundational architects of modern sketch comedy. The early SNL writers' room was legendary. You had all these distinct voices. Michael O'Donoghue's dark stuff.
Franken and Davis doing their specific character work. Chevy Chase's high energy.
Right. And Zweibel brought something else to that mix. He had this knack for character depth, maybe, and a kind of warmth, even a slightly surreal, emotional core.
And that sensibility led directly to some of the show's most beloved, most enduring characters, especially for Gilda Radner.
Oh, absolutely. Gilda was, you could argue, the heart of that original cast. And Zweibel created some of her absolute signature characters.
The sources credit him with 2 of her biggest ones, which is just amazing.
First, Roseannadanna.
Yes. The messy, easily sidetracked consumer affairs reporter on Weekend Update.
It just goes to show you, it's always something. Her rants were these masterpieces of controlled chaos, right?
Yeah, totally. Structurally, they were bizarre. She'd start on one topic and end up talking about, like, finding something gross on her hamburger. But Gilda sold it completely.
And Zweibel's writing just nailed that humor in the mundane, the grotesque, the relatable detail.
Well, then the complete opposite. Emily Litella.
The sweet, slightly deaf elderly woman, always misunderstanding the news on Weekend Update.
Like railing against violins on television.
The topic was violence on television,
right,
or getting worked up about saving Soviet jewelry.
Instead of saving Soviet jewelry, the genius wasn't just the mistake, though. It was the reveal.
Exactly. Chevy Chase or Jane Curtin would correct her, and she'd have that little pause.
And then, oh, that's very different.
Never mind.
That sweetness, that ability to admit she was wrong, it gave the character such heart. That felt like a Zweibel touch, that connection with Gilda.
Definitely. But his range wasn't just limited to Gilda. He also wrote the iconic samurai sketches for John Belushi.
Which is incredible versatility. The Radnor characters were all about the words, the monologues.
Right. Highly verbal. The samurai sketches, samurai delicatessen, samurai hotel, samurai optometrist.
They were almost pure physical comedy, all about Belushi's intensity, his commitment to the bit.
And Zweibel understood how to write for that physicality, for that visual humor. It's like writing an opera versus writing a silent film. He could do both.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
let's bring in that great little piece of trivia that shows how intertwined their lives were in that writer's room.
Ah, the Richard Feder in-joke, yes.
We all heard Roseannadanna say it countless times on Weekend Update. This question comes from Mr. Richard Feder of Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Became a catchphrase, almost.
But it wasn't just a random name they pulled out of a hat.
No, Richard Feder of Fort Lee, New Jersey, was Alan Zweibel's actual brother-in-law who lived in Fort Lee.
Get out of here, really?
Yep. It just shows you the DNA of early SNL. They were pulling stuff straight from their own lives, their families, their neighborhoods.
Folding those private jokes into national television, it gave the show this unique, grounded feel, almost meta before meta was really a thing.
Absolutely. And that blurring of lines, that personal connection was deepest with Gilda Radner.
Yeah.
Their collaboration, their friendship went way beyond those 5 years at SNL.
It was clearly a profound relationship, professionally and personally.
Totally. And it connects forward in his career in a really poignant way. Gilda Radner's very last television appearance was on an episode of his Garry Shandling show.
Wow. So Zweibel, who was about to redefine TV comedy again with Shandling, gave his friend that final platform.
It seems that way. And then, after her tragic death from cancer, Zweibel did what great writers do.
Yeah.
He channeled that grief, that loss, into his work.
Which led to the book Bunny Bunny, Gilda Radner, a sort of love story.
A bestseller. And hugely influential. It wasn't just a tribute. It showed Zweibel as this serious, heartfelt writer, capable of real emotional depth, not just punchlines.
It reads like a memoir, but with the timing of a comedian and the depth of a novelist, it's a unique piece of writing.
And then, proving he could conquer yet another medium, he adapted Bunny Bunny into an off-Broadway play.
Right, same title. It's just solid proof that his comedy, even the wildest stuff, comes from a place of deep character understanding, personal observation, and real emotion.
Which kind of elevates it beyond just, funny sketches.
Yeah, definitely. And that ability to transition from the sketch world to deep emotional territory sets us up perfectly for the next phase. Alan Zweibel as, what did we call him? The television landscape architect.
Good title. Because post-SNL, he wasn't just repeating himself. He started looking at the sitcom format and thinking, okay, what else can this do?
Which led him straight to Garry Shandling.
The Shandling era. He co-created and produced It's Garry Shandling's Show, ran from 86 to 90, won a Cable Ace Award for the writing.
For anyone listening who hasn't seen it, it's hard to overstate how groundbreaking this show was. It wasn't just funny, it changed the rules. How did they pull that off?
Well, they basically took meta-comedy, which had existed in bits and pieces, and made it the entire foundation of the show.
Right, breaking the fourth wall constantly.
All the time. Garry lived in this world where he knew he was on a TV show. He talked to the audience, pointed at the cameras, commented on the sets.
Like walking through his apartment set and saying, this isn't a real kitchen, you know?
Exactly. The humor came from that constant self-awareness, that pulling back the curtain.
Which requires a totally different writing muscle than SNL, right? SNL builds to a punchline or a blackout. Shandling was about deconstructing the whole thing while still being funny and somehow sincere.
Absolutely. It paved the way for so much self-referential comedy that came later. You can draw a direct line to shows like 30 Rock, Arrested Development, maybe even aspects of Seinfeld.
So it's that ability to innovate structure, not just jokes, that explains his longevity.
I think so. He understood the framework of comedy, and that insight clearly made him valuable later on, too. He pops up as a consulting producer on another huge landmark of structural comedy.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right, from 2001 to 2002.
That's an amazing trajectory. Early SNL chaos, pioneering meta-comedy with Shandling, then consulting on Larry David's ultimate cringe improv masterpiece. What does a writer like Zweibel bring to Curb, which is so heavily improvised?
Well, even though the dialogue on Curb is improvised, the stories are meticulously outlined. You need a master architect to build that structure. Zweibel, with his decades of experience, knows exactly how to build comedic tension, how to set up payoffs, how to weave those seemingly random threads together into those intricate Curb plots. He ensures the improv serves the story.
He's providing the roadmap for the chaos.
Kind of, yeah. He makes sure the chaos leads somewhere satisfying.
But he could also pivot away from pure comedy. The credits list includes writing an episode of Monk in 2007.
Yeah, the detective show with Tony Shalhoub.
That's a totally different discipline. Mystery structure, clues, red herrings, procedural beats.
It just proves his core skill is storytelling, period. Not just joke writing. He understood dramatic structure, too.
And alongside these innovative projects, he was still involved in more traditional formats. Created and executive produced sitcoms like One of the Boys in '89.
And Good Sports in '91.
Plus, his prestige work goes way back. He won an Emmy for the Paul Simon special way back in 1977.
Writing for a variety special like that requires a different kind of skill set again. Weaving together music, comedy bits, celebrity appearances.
He really was the ultimate utility player for TV comedy and variety in the 70s and 80s. He worked on Steve Martin's Best Show Ever in '81.
And he's remained the guy they call for the big SNL anniversary specials. He's like the institutional memory of TV comedy. He both made the history and helps chronicle it.
Speaking of chronicling history, he himself shows up in a lot of major comedy documentaries. His presence almost validates the subject's importance.
Totally. You see him in The Last Laugh, which is about humor and the Holocaust, showing his engagement with serious themes.
Obviously, he's central to Judd Apatow's The Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling.
Makes sense. He's in Gilbert, the documentary about Gilbert Gottfried. And he was an executive producer on Love, Gilda, the documentary about Radner.
His consistent appearance in these just underlines it. You can't tell the story of modern American comedy without talking about Alan Zweibel.
He's woven into the fabric of it.
Okay, so let's shift gears slightly. Part 4. Let's talk about his work on stage and in film, which is really dominated by that long-running, super successful partnership with another SNL great, Billy Crystal.
Right. The Zweibel-Crystal connection is remarkable. Decades of creative trust, moving across different mediums. It really hit a peak with 700 Sundays on Broadway. Opened in 2005.
And it wasn't just on Broadway, it was a massive event. Won the Tony Award for Best Special Theatrical Event. What made that show, essentially Crystal doing a one-man show, so special?
Well, like Bunny Bunny, it was this masterfully crafted blend of comedy and deeply personal autobiography. But live on stage. Zweibel's writing provided the structure, the backbone for Crystal's incredible performance. The humor wasn't just random jokes. It served the story Crystal's childhood, his relationship with his dad. It had real emotional weight.
So Zweibel could write for a stand-up's voice, but give it the dramatic heft needed for Broadway, for a Tony.
Exactly. And that partnership is still going strong. This is an ancient history. They co-wrote and produced the movie Here Today just a few years ago, in 2021.
Right. Crystal directed and starred with Tiffany Haddish, so they're still actively making films together.
Yeah. And his other film credits show that range again. Co-writer on the Dragnet movie back in '87.
The one with Aykroyd and Tom Hanks, right. Big blockbuster comedy, taking sketch characters and trying to make them work in a feature film, which is notoriously hard.
Very hard. Then he co-wrote and produced The Story of Us in 1999.
That was Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer. More of a romantic comedy drama. Different tone entirely.
Totally different. And then there's North from 1994.
Ah, yes. Infamous, maybe. But significant because it was based on his own young adult novel.
Right, which highlights another aspect of his talent. He could create an idea, write it as a book first, and then shepherd it to the screen as a writer and producer. That's a lot of creative control.
And sticking with that theme of blurring roles, he often popped up in these movies too, right?
Yeah, little cameos.
Yeah.
He was Uncle Shelley, in The Story of Us, played a coach in North, the writer who also wants to be part of the action.
Classic. And his stage work goes beyond Crystal, too. He co-wrote Martin Short's Broadway show, Fame Becomes Me.
Another great example of shaping a comedic persona into a theatrical memoir. And he wrote several off-Broadway plays, Between Cars, Comic Dialogue, Happy, which was a real commitment to theater.
And he's still doing live performance stuff now, appearing in Celebrity Autobiography in New York.
Right. Keeps his hand in. What's also fascinating, like with any prolific writer, is the stuff that didn't get made. The sources mention some unproduced screenplay titles.
Oh, yeah.
Titles like Barbarians at the Plate sounds like a baseball satire. Marrying Mom. Men Who Lunch. And this one sounds intriguing. Waiting for Sam to Die.
Wow, that last one sounds pretty dramatic. They hint at a writer constantly wrestling with big themes, family, mortality, absurdity, but always through that comedic filter.
Even the unproduced stuff paints a picture of a mind that just never stopped generating ideas, pushing boundaries.
Which leads us perfectly into the final section, part 5. His literary career, which really cemented his reputation beyond TV and film, and a quick recap of all those awards.
Yeah, the guy who started writing $7 jokes ended up writing 11 books. That's a serious body of work. Prose, memoir, humor, even children's books. The versatility is just staggering.
And the literary world took notice. His novel, The Other Shulman, published in 2007,
Won the 2006 Thurber Prize for American Humor.
which is basically the top award for literary humor in the U.S., puts him in very elite company. It recognizes writing crafted for the page, not just for performance.
Definitely a huge achievement. And then his 2020 memoir, Laugh Lines, My Life, Helping Funny People Be Funnier. The title says it all, really.
Yeah, it frames his whole career as being in service to others' comedy, facilitating their brilliance. Radner, Shandling, Crystal.
He often stepped back to let the stars shine. But maybe the most surprising turn is his children's book.
Our Tree Named Steve, 2007.
Not just a kid's book, but a huge success. Scholastic Book Club pick, translated into 11 languages.
Think about that. The guy who wrote Roseannadanna's Gross Out Stories also wrote this simple, heartfelt, universal story about a tree that connects with kids globally.
It proves that the genuine emotion we saw in Bunny Bunny is core to his talent. You can't fake it in children's lit. You need sincerity, simplicity, heart, and he delivered.
He also seems to thrive on collaboration in his book writing, too.
Absolutely. Teamed up with the great Dave Barry for Lunatics.
And then formed this kind of humor supergroup with Barry and Adam Mansball.
Right. Together they did For This We Left Egypt, a Passover Haggadah Patirity, basically, and a field guide to the Jewish people. Very high concept cultural humor.
He clearly loves working in a team, whether as a TV writer's room or like a shared Google Doc.
Seems like it. And he did 2 books just with Mansbach about Benjamin Franklin, aimed at younger readers too, I think. Benjamin Franklin. Huge pain in my and Benjamin Franklin. You've got mail.
Still playing with history, still collaborating, keeping things fresh way into his later career.
Okay, so looking back across this whole amazing canvas, let's just quickly tick off the major honors again, because seeing them together really drives home the mastery across disciplines.
4 Emmys for writing. SNL, Paul Simon special.
The Tony Award in 2005 for 700 Sundays. Drama, emotion, structure on stage.
The Thurber Prize in 2006. Pure literary humor achievement.
The Writers Guild Lifetime Achievement Award in 2010. His peers recognizing his monumental contribution.
An honorary PhD from SUNY in 2009. The awards really do confirm it. He didn't just succeed on one platform, he conquered pretty much all of them.
He really did.
So we've covered this incredible journey. From that relentless $7 joke writer needing sheer volume to survive.
Which landed him in the revolutionary SNL writer's room, creating these immortal characters.
Then immediately innovating again, redefining the sitcom with It's Garry Shandling's show, shaping meta-comedy.
And bringing that structural genius even to improvised shows like Curb.
And throughout, proving that great comedy often comes from a deep personal place, translating his friendship with Gilda into Bunny Bunny.
Conquering Broadway with Billy Crystal by blending humor and autobiography in 700 Sundays.
And that capacity for genuine feeling allowed him to pivot seamlessly from satire to writing a globally beloved children's book like Our Tree Named Steve.
And underpinning all this creative work, the sources note, is a stable personal life. Married to his wife Robin since 1979. 3 kids, 5 grandkids, a life of partnership, creation, commitment.
So, thinking about this legacy, what does it mean for you listening? Here's a creator who just smashed through creative boundaries. Manic TV, serious novels, kids' books, Broadway drama. His success came from being able to pivot between high comedy and genuine emotion.
Which really raises that fundamental question for anyone doing creative work, doesn't it? Do you have to pick a lane, stick to one style or genre to really master it? Or is the real path to that kind of pantheon status found in understanding something more basic human emotion, maybe, that lets you cross those boundaries? Zweibel makes a strong case for the latter. The core skill transfers.
From a $7 joke to a Tony-winning play, it's the same underlying understanding.
Pretty amazing range.
So think about that. What creative boundary could you cross next? How could you take what you already know and apply it somewhere completely unexpected? Something to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thank you. See you next time.